what if everything you thought you knew about a grieving widow was a performance? Now, I want you to think about that for a second, because the internet has been absolutely on fire this week after a legal analyst went on live television and said out loud what a lot of people have been whispering behind closed doors about Erika Kirk. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't hedge. He looked straight into the camera and called her grief, and I'm quoting here, "all theater." That's a massive claim, and here's the thing, it's gone viral. So today on the Marquee Report, we are breaking down every single piece of this takedown, why it's resonating with so many people, and what it all actually means. Stay with me. Welcome back to the Marquee Report, the channel where we pull back the curtain and tell you what's actually going on. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we do not do surface level. Let's get into it. All right, so for anyone who needs the background, Erika Kirk is the widow of Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator and founder of Turning Point USA. Charlie was assassinated, and his death sent shockwaves through political circles across America. Now, anytime a public figure's spouse dies, especially under violent circumstances, all eyes turn to the widow. That's just the reality, and Erika Kirk has been in the public eye constantly since then. She stepped into the CEO role at TPUSA, she's been doing media appearances, she's been posting on social media, she has been present, to say the least. But here's where things get complicated, because a growing number of people, commentators, analysts, even some of Charlie's former associates, have started raising eyebrows. Not in a quiet, behind closed doors kind of way, publicly, loudly, on camera. And the most explosive moment came when legal analyst Lionel sat down for an interview and absolutely unloaded. Now look, Lionel is not exactly a shrinking violet. He's known for sharp, theatrical commentary, but even by his standards, this was something else. He zeroed in on a specific moment that he says crossed a line for him. He described Erika laying atop her husband's body and highlighting his hands, and called it, his words, beyond disturbing. He used words like ghoulish and funereal to describe what he witnessed. But here's where his argument gets really specific. And honestly, this is the part that made people stop scrolling. He talked about the physical mechanics of grief. He said, and this is a detail that a lot of people found oddly compelling, that anyone who has ever truly cried knows that real crying involves more than wiping your eyes. You blow your nose. Your whole face is involved. It's messy, it's ugly, it's human. And he said he never saw that from Erika Kirk. Now, is that a fair standard? We'll get to that. But the point is, Lionel wasn't just saying she seemed sad but not devastated. He was making a specific, observable argument about the absence of involuntary physical grief responses. He then pivoted to what he called one act repeated over time, comparing her emotional displays to staged theater rather than spontaneous human sorrow. But the critique didn't stop at body language. Lionel also flagged something that's been circulating on social media for weeks now. He referenced a Zoom appearance that allegedly happened just days after Charlie's death, where, he claims, Erika made a fairly rapid pivot from grief-related discussion into promotional territory, pushing merchandise, talking about TPUSA. He said she goes from grief to pushing merchandise. That is not normal behavior. And here's the thing. This connects to a broader wave of controversies that were already swirling around Erika. There have been reports of a significant shopping trip allegedly taken less than 24 hours after Charlie's assassination. There are reports of her taking on the CEO role at TPUSA in the immediate aftermath. There are critics questioning almost every public-facing decision she's made since his death. Now, to be absolutely clear, grief is not one size fits all. Some people shop. Some people throw themselves into work. Some people look completely fine on the outside and are completely destroyed on the inside. We don't all grieve the same way. That's just a fact. But Lionel's argument isn't just about individual grieving styles. His argument is about a pattern, a curated pattern. And that's a different conversation. One of the most pointed moments in Lionel's takedown was when he brought Vanessa Bryant into the conversation. For those who don't remember, Vanessa Bryant is the widow of Kobe Bryant, who died tragically in a helicopter crash in 2020. And Lionel held her up as a reference point for what, in his view, genuine public grief looks like. He said Vanessa Bryant largely retreated from the public eye. She reportedly said she simply could not speak. She was absent from media in those immediate days. Not performing, not promoting, just gone, because grief had taken her under. Now, again, we have to be careful here. Vanessa Bryant had different circumstances, different resources, different people around her, and Erika Kirk was stepping into a leadership role at a major organization in a politically charged moment. But Lionel's broader point is about contrast. And it's a contrast that clearly resonated with a massive audience, because this clip went viral almost immediately. Here's where the story gets even more layered, because Lionel didn't limit his critique to just the grief question. He went further, suggesting that inconsistencies in Erika Kirk's public statements and personal narrative were adding up to something. But he alleged that she changes her story depending on what role she wants to play at any given moment. He suggested her public identity feels constructed rather than organic. Now, he stopped well short of making any direct accusations regarding Charlie's death itself. He was careful on that. But he didn't have to say it outright for people to hear the implication. And this is where I think we need to pump the brakes for just a second and be responsible about this. Because allegations are not facts. Suspicion is not evidence. And in the court of public opinion, things can spiral very, very quickly from her grief looks performative to conclusions that nobody has any basis for drawing. What is factually true is this: Erika Kirk's public image is under intense scrutiny. Multiple commentators, including Candace Owens, who has her own very public issues with TPUSA, have questioned her credibility. The questions aren't going away, but neither is the lack of any direct evidence of wrongdoing. So, what do we make of all of this? Here's my honest take. The reason this story won't die is because it exists at the intersection of two things that people find deeply uncomfortable: grief as spectacle and power as motive. When someone loses a spouse and then immediately steps into a position of significant power and influence, people are going to ask questions. That's not cruel. That's human. We are pattern-seeking creatures, and when a pattern looks off to us, we notice. Does that mean Erika Kirk is guilty of anything? Absolutely not. Grief is private. Grief is complicated. And we have to be honest with ourselves about the fact that some of this scrutiny exists because she's a woman in a position of power. And women who move decisively after tragedy have always been viewed with more suspicion than men who do the same thing. But here's what's also true. Lionel's critique, however theatrical he himself was being, tapped into something real that a lot of people were already feeling. And when something taps into that kind of existing unease, it catches fire. Whether that fire illuminates truth or just scorches someone unfairly, that remains to be seen. That's the full breakdown for you today on the Marquee Report. This story is still developing. There will be more to come, and we will be here covering every angle as it unfolds. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Lionel's critique was fair, or did he cross a line? Where do you draw the boundary between holding public figures accountable and going too far into speculation? Drop it below. If you found this video valuable, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell so you don't miss our next report, and share this with someone who needs to see it.